All right, so 2011 WRX going to be replacing the top strut mounts, top hats called also. Not too bad of a job. So you can kind of see this one is all kind of cracked all around. The other one was even worse. I pulled the cap off, so it looks good, but you know, doesn't look that bad in there. But when they start cracking, probably time to replace them. Basically, we're gonna pop off these bolts there, there, and there. And we're gonna take the camber bolts off. This whole thing will pop out, more or less. That's the gist of it. Compress it, put the new top hat on, pop it back in, and hopefully the alignment isn't too far off. So here we go. So first thing I'm gonna do is pretty much just spin this a little bit. Now it's got a little key in there because the whole shaft is gonna spin technically. But when there's weight on it, you may get lucky, but probably not. But in any case, I'm just gonna attempt to just spin it like half a turn, just to try and break it free. It'll kind of make, when we get it off, it'll make it a little bit easier, but chances are it won't do anything. This is a 17 millimeter, so I'm just gonna give it a little go. And it definitely kind of moved, so just give it a little quarter turn. Do not remove that, whatever you do. Just give it a little turn to make sure it moves. Okay, so let's start to take these brackets off here. They should all be 12s. Oh, that was not a good sound. This one may straight up shear off, but helps if you go the right way. There we go. The last one is the brake line one right here. I'm just gonna zap it. That one likes to brake, so I probably shouldn't have done that, but it came out, so we're good. So next thing I'm gonna do is I'm gonna remove the sway bar end links. You may be able to get away without doing this, but with the aftermarket one, we want to be able to get the droop down a little bit further. So it's gonna make it a little bit easier in the long run to just pop this top one off. There, all right, that worked. All right, so the sway bar is disconnected. We got the ABS and the brake line disconnected. So basically, the only thing left is to start popping the camber bolts off. We're gonna leave these bolts on there tightened. I shouldn't really have to some people loosen them beforehand. I don't really think we need to. But what I am gonna do is I'm gonna have to take the, what's it called? The caliper off, because I've got two camber bolts here. So I've got one there and one there. This bolt will hit the caliper when removing it, so whatever. But first thing you want to do is you want to make sure you mark where these bolts are. That way when you put them back together, you can keep the alignment camber as good as you can. Honestly, 80, 100 bucks or whatever you get for an alignment, it's probably worth it anyways every time you take this thing apart. So we're gonna mark this so we can try and keep it in the same spot. So yeah, we got those marked. What we're now gonna do is we're going to break these free. Oh. Make sure you scratch the paint up too when you do this. So it's probably gonna suck to watch, but whatever. So these bolts are gonna want to come out. So what we're gonna do is we're gonna try to find the sweet spot by jacking up off the edge, basically. So the annoying part is trying to find that sweet spot that'll get this thing out, basically. It's moving. If I twist it, it comes out. Definitely not happy about it though. I'm gonna soak this with some PV Blaster all over the place. Let it soak for a little while and then come back to it. But again, you know, if you use the jack and you kind of try to find some spot that can get the load off of it, but you got to find that sweet spot, which can be difficult. So I'm just gonna let this soak for a little bit and I'll come back to it. All right, so I'm getting somewhere. So basically lifted the arm up a decent amount, maybe an inch or two, hammered it with a real hammer, and it started popping out here. It's actually, you can see, it popped out and it was free. Now I'm not gonna remove it just yet. So basically what's gonna happen is, well, although to be fair, it's not doing anything. So, but just for safety reasons here. When this pops out, nothing's gonna be holding the knuckle from pretty much remaining in place. So you got the ball joint down there, so it'll wanna pivot on that. But depending on, you know, where the weight is on this thing, it may wanna fall forward towards you. And that's that's really bad. If that happens, you can pull the axle out of the transmission, and it's apparently, it sucks getting that back in. So when you remove this, you know, I've got the arm up. So once I remove this bolt, this thing is gonna kind of be on its own and it will be able to float. I'm gonna hold it in the front here. I'm gonna put a jack stand underneath to kind of cradle it right there, so it doesn't really fall forward that much. And basically we're gonna lower it with the jack. With the sway bar off, I'll be able to lower it enough that will clear this mount point right here. And you kind of can bend it a little bit out of the way. And you can see right here, this is gonna, it's not perfect, but it'll rest on there while I reposition the jack, basically. What we'll do now, we'll go up top and I'll break the, all but one of those 12 millimeters up there free. Don't forget to drop it. You can tell it was starting to drop. Position it, hold it. This comes on down and she's out. Okay, so we got it on my little puny little vise here. With this nut on the top, it's safe. It's got a lot of energy stored in it though. This thing is compressed, whether it looks like it or not. So take very extra caution when you're dealing with this thing. Don't put yourself in front or behind it in case something fails and this thing jettisons out in either direction. You don't want to be in the path of it because it'll mess you up. So we got it sitting up here, just on a place to work on it basically before we compress the spring here. So this is the part we're replacing, this little called top hat, you know, strut mount. You can spin it in here. Not too bad. I mean, honestly, I can feel a little bit of resist, a little bit of like the ball bearings kind of rubbing, or I don't know what the hell they're just doing something. There's not really any play in it, which is good, but it's cracked. So I had the cover on it. It's okay, but it's due for a replacement basically. You can see inside. It doesn't look, honestly, it really doesn't look that bad down in there. But, you know, definitely don't put your face in front of it like I did, because I was pretty stupid if I told you not to. So what we're going to do now is, so we're going to try and zap this with a impact, and then we'll use basically this little key in here to pop it out. But before you do anything, you want to compress the spring on equal sides. So I've got some spring compressors here. You can rent them at like O'Reilly's or whatever for free. You can buy them at Harbor Freight for like 30, 35 bucks. So we're gonna put these suckers on, clamp this spring down, which will reduce the pressure on this top part here. And then we can remove the top hat safely. And also this spring sits in here in a specific way, right? The top and the bottom actually seat in a spot that they're supposed to be. So we're gonna mark this with chalk on the sides that we can. In case it gets shifted around, we'll be able to put it back where it should be. Now, since we're only doing the top hat, this thing should actually stay exactly where it should be. You know, it really won't move. So we're not too worried about that, but we will chalk it up a little bit. Okay, so I got it chalked up. We're gonna put the spring compressors on. You can kind of tell it's good when the whole thing kind of starts to shift a little bit. You know, this is not the coil, this is just rubber. But when you can move the whole thing like I'm doing here, means that the pressure is obviously free enough. Don't forget to watch your chunk marks though when you do that. So I'm still in good shape here, but good news is I wore it off with my thumb like an idiot. So the spring is compressed. We can now work on the top hat. Okay, so spring is compressed, confirmed. It's not gonna go anywhere. We're gonna stand away from this thing. We're gonna zap it with the impact. We'll probably get this nut off a little bit, but there's a good chance it won't come all the way out, and we'll just do the key for the rest of it. And when it does that, it means that the whole assembly is spinning. So you can kind of rock it back and forth a little bit maybe. And it kind of comes out a little bit. And then, you know, make sure this thing has a little bit of play in it, so it should mean that you're not going to have the thing fly off at you. 17 millimeter angled wrench. We're going to take a I don't know what this thing is. It's got a 6 on it. It's basically a little dealie. Fits in there, everyone's happy, but yep, obviously you do this first. You do that. You hold it with this. If you're lucky, you don't strip everything and ruin your day. Make sure you go the right way. And nothing. Oh, and she's out. So top hat's out. Again, thing compressed. This thing is not going to shoot at you like a rocket, but you end up with a little spacer up here. You got a little top thingy, doodad. You got this little coily doodad. You got this little rubber thing and shock dealy down in there. I'm not replacing anything. I'm just replacing the top hat. So we're just going to leave all this alone. I'll probably clean that off, spray that off with some brake cleaner, take the little spacer off and clean it, and we'll pop the new one on. Okay, so this is what new versus old looks like. Obviously that's the new one. So this is a superseded part. So this one does look a little different, not much though, right? But in any case, here's the new one compared to the two old ones. Both of them were cracked pretty decently, you know, popping, clunking. This one, you can kind of tell which one had the cap on it and which one didn't. This one had the cap on it, and you know, grease has just got some debris and all this other stuff in there. Probably came up from the inside and the outside. This one did not have the cap on it. It is basically disintegrated in there. So there's like a ball bearing just sitting on top. The thing had tons of play. This thing was just absolutely destroyed. Okay, I'll put the new one back on. This washer's nice and clean. Just get the top of it clean because it's going to sit up against the bottom here, basically. Studs obviously go facing out. We'll just pop this guy on right there. We're going to use a new bolt, nut, I should say. Supposed to get this thing to 40 foot-pounds. There you go, click. It ain't coming out. We're gonna now decompress this spring very carefully. Just like that, we have a new top hat on an old strut. Basically going to shove this sucker up there and just get it seated into here. This thing obviously pivots around a little bit and whatnot, which is good. So take a little bit of finagling. And now this is when you find that one nut you freaking dropped on the ground and haven't found yet. So I'm gonna go look for that. So we've got the knuckle right here. You can still kind of flex it around. You basically just need to get it lined up, get these bolts back in. So you just kind of wiggle it, kind of works. There it goes. That was actually not too bad. So what happened is, let's get this guy right here. You still probably can't see him. I got the my bottom camber bolt a little bit different. It's got two dealies, but I'll get that lined up officially with the markings. This one as well. Get these ones lined up and just get them seated there for now, and then we'll put the nuts back on them. I got the bolts lined up properly. They're going to shift a little bit, so just be ready to move them. What we're going to now do is kind of get these nuts on there. I got my bottom one. So yeah, 65 bottom, or for me, be 114 for both bolts, was looks like what the service manual says if you've got stock camber bolts. Okay, we got the camber bolts are now tightened on there and doing camber stuff. So now we're ready to basically reassemble the rest of the arm. Yeah. And don't forget your little top hat, or it'll end up like that other side. Okay. So to summarize, we got the alignment bolts aligned. Torques down 114 and 65, or 114 for both if you got the stock one. We made sure we didn't let the knuckle fall forward towards us so it didn't pop out the axle shaft. Got all the brackets for the ABS and the brake hoses connected, calipers reconnected, and doing caliper stuff, hanging out. We got the arm jacked up to get that on. So if you have removed this, you need to put the car under load. Can't be unsprung like this. So put some wood blocks, whatever you do to get underneath it while the car is sitting with its tires on it, and torque those down. I believe the factory's like 35, 37. I take these higher, but that's just because they're aftermarket. So we got the new top hat on. We've got it torqued down up there. Torqued down means we zapped it. We got the top hat bolt. Should be at 40 foot-pounds, probably more, but that's fine. So the suspension is together. So what we're going to do, I'm going to put the tire back on, and I am going to put some wood blocks underneath it. Get underneath and tighten up those sway bars. Otherwise, this thing is back together and it is ready to rock and roll.